Hello wildflowers, and welcome to deep winter here in the land down under, the far southeast coast of Australia where the mythic snowy river meets the Tasman Sea. We've just passed the winter solstice and are now ever so slowly welcoming the return of the light. Each day the dawn light breaks over the horizon just a little earlier and the sun sets a little later, bathing everything in a dusty pink glow. Soon the forest will be covered in wildflowers, and we too are finding magic and inspiration in these calm, quiet days before spring. In this episode, we'll take you deep into the heart of the blissfully remote and breathtakingly beautiful wilderness region we call home, and share with you a few of our favourite hobbies while the cottage garden slumbers. Art journaling, bookbinding, and birdwatching, in what I hope to be a very soothing and serene little film. Indeed, nature here feels so ethereal and hauntingly still, yet at the same time so rugged and primordial, as if it were a land between the veils, lost in time. Something deep within me loves that feeling of drifting into the sublime, far away from everything and everyone but the birds and the frogs and the insects. Is it so unusual that I feel more at home in the wilderness than I ever do in civilization? And to be honest, it's often hard to get me to come home once I'm out there in the wild. Perhaps that explains my fascination with the birds. Oh, just imagine the freedom to soar above it all, seeking out ever more remote and solitudinous locations to delight the spirit and ignite the imagination. What bliss they have at their feathered wingtips. I guess I dreamt of capturing a little of that feeling in this episode, along with 17 different Australian bird species we have spotted on our birding adventures this winter. I'll be sketching and painting a few of them in my new art journal later too, and showcasing our new Wildwoods range of art journals inspired by these incredible landscapes. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a peek at life on the edge of the world. From the windswept coast we travelled inland to a world of tangled green, cosy in our hiking gear, equipped with snacks, binoculars and cameras. We ventured deep into the cool, temperate rainforest, one of the last remaining in this state, where giant ferns seemed to reach up from lush gullies to touch the misty clouds above. It seemed a magical place to continue our birdwatching adventures, and if we were lucky, we might even spot a lyrebird. Marvelling at the age of those towering, moss-covered mountain ash trees, I couldn't help but think just how brief a flicker our human lives must seem to the ancients of the forest. What better reminder to experience every moment with eyes of wonder, like those of a child. What a rare and precious thing it is to simply be alive and sharing planet Earth with such incredible living things, where all the essentials of life are provided in abundance. The delicate balance of this microcosm, where nutrient-rich water and life-giving sunshine literally rains down from the sky. Well, I guess you could say I was just in awe. I love this place. Here in the forest, the emerald canopy is pierced by thin shafts of light here and there, highlighting tiny plant life and making droplets of water twinkle like stars. It's a nature photographer's dream, and one particular forest fairy and her cheeky elf companion could easily become lost in a place like this. We had so much fun on this trip, marvelling at the rich biodiversity, searching for rare birds to film, hopping over logs and trickling gullies, and soaking in the energy of the forest. It was as if an enchantment fell over us. And it's no wonder we returned from this trip filled with excitement and creativity. We came back from the rainforest inspired to create a new range of art journals in beautiful fabrics with a colour palette of emerald and moss, blackberry and rose, just like the wildflowers and ferns we'd seen. The name Wildwoods seemed perfect, and I think they will appeal to the dark academia inclined artists out there. Of course, I wanted to turn mine into a field journal for my bird studies, a place to sketch and paint all of the birds I've spotted this winter. Yes, I know, I've lost count of how many different art journals I have now, but I really don't think there's such a thing as too many art journals. Mr. Rose and I love making journals together, sitting in bed watching movies on a winter's day while we stitch the bindings, and working as a team to add the finishing touches and gift wrap them for our customers. You all know how much I love handmade things. In a world where so much is produced by machines, it feels like my little act of rebellion to do anything with my very own, perfectly imperfect human hands. By the time this episode airs, all 4 journals will have dropped on my online store. But for me, seeing them all stacked neatly like this, the hardest part was choosing which I'd claim for my own. It had to be Tangled Woods. Perhaps one of the loveliest things about spending time in nature, especially with a sweet and gentle pastime like birdwatching, is that I return to my art desk feeling refreshed and full of creative energy. Those hours spent in quiet observation, patiently listening for bird calls and watching for signs of movement, require you to tune in with your senses and be fully present. It's fascinating learning about all the different species, their habitats and behaviours, and quite thrilling when you spot a new bird. All of a sudden, I find myself saying things like, "Oh look, a red-browed finch," and "Did you hear that? Was it a black cockatoo because it wasn't supposed to rain today?" And that's when you know you've become a total bird nerd. If you'd like to take up birdwatching too, I'll be sharing a printable copy of my bird studies booklet with my wild roses on Patreon this week, as well as a fun scrapbooking sheet with birds and blooms to cut and paste. If you're anything like me, you're going to find this rather nerdy special interest quite addictive. I'll just be here slowly painting my way through the list of birds we've spotted so far, some caught on camera and others not, starting with this cute eastern yellow robin and a black-shouldered kite. great Australian birdwatching adventure takes us next into the wild eucalyptus forests and scrubby grasslands, where the bush fairies dance in the dusk light as the setting sun casts long shadows across the leaf-strewn paths. Here there is nothing but the twittering of birds and the sound of wind ruffling the leaves. It's another ancient and peaceful place. Just a short walk from Belladonna Cottage. We visit here every day, often seeing kangaroos bounding away across the paddocks as we round a corner. We're still on the lookout for a lyrebird and an azure kingfisher, but we were lucky enough to spot a rare pink robin, a family of quail, and some gang cockatoos here recently. Of course, these shy birds never make an appearance when we have our cameras in hand, but there are plenty of show-offs in the Australian bush too, that aren't afraid to strut their stuff and flash their feathers. Some of the birds, like the superb fairy wren and the red-browed finch, are so tiny and fast that you can only catch a glimpse of their brilliant colours as they whiz by in a flock, flashing fire engine red and sapphire blue in the midst of the bush. That's where you need to pull out your trusty bird identification book and check up on their stats to be sure you can believe your eyes or your binoculars. Other birds are classic Australians, big and boisterous, cheeky and loud, and about as curious about us as we are about them. I so hope you enjoyed this episode, sweet friends, and if you did, please don't forget to like and subscribe. When next we meet, it will be Imbolc here in the land down under, and the flowers will be waking from their winter slumber. Yippee! Until then, may your days be filled with forest magic, endless inspiration, and the sweet melody of birdsong.